Hel- Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to another session of our summer webinar series. Today, we are talking about best practices for managing Prisma Access. And first, we will talk about allow listing of Prisma Access IP addresses. Prisma Access dynamically assigns IP addresses to Prisma Access nodes as they get provisioned. This includes the public IP addresses and some sort of service infrastructure IP addresses. And you may need to keep an updated list of all of these IP addresses for your authentication servers, for SaaS providers, so that they can have mechanism to retrieve them on this source address basis. So Prisma Access provides a mechanism so that you can retrieve all of these IP addresses. Let's have a look. The first method is you can retrieve the IP addresses by using an API script. You can use the APIs and retrieve all of the IP address in your Prisma Access deployment, which includes some of gateway IP addresses, portals, and all IP addresses. You can generate the API key to log in into your Panorama, generate the API key, which will be used for authentication purpose, and then use the curl command to retrieve the IP addresses. We have a detailed instructions available in our admin guide, Prisma Access admin guide, which explains each and every step of the APIs, how you can use them and retrieve them, and you can create a text file and program this retrieval of IP addresses. Another method is to be notified of change of IP addresses. To be notified of public IP addresses change for mobile users, you have to specify a URL at which you can be alerted for a change. Prisma Access uses an HTTP post request to send these notifications. The post request includes the notification data in JSON format, and when you receive the notification, you must follow a two-step process. You need to rerun the script again to retrieve all the IP addresses and then allow list or whitelist with your authentication servers, with your data center, on-premises services, or your SaaS providers, or in the cloud. Prisma Access sends this notification a few seconds before the new IP address becomes active. So we recommend you to use an automation script to both retrieve the IP addresses and add the new IP addresses to the allow list. You can also pre-allocate the IP addresses for mobile users, gateways, and portals. Prisma Access provides an enhanced API which you can use to retrieve the IP addresses that allow you to reserve the gateway and portal IP addresses for any particular location ahead of the time. This ability lets you add the mobile users' egress IP addresses to your organization's allow list before you onboard any location, which gives your mobile users access to the external application and SaaS applications immediately after you onboard. These IP addresses and subnets are valid for 90 days once you retrieve them and pre-allocate them. And if you don't use within a 90 days period of time, it will be expired. If you're using Cortex XOR, you can automate the source IP-based whitelisting process. With the Prisma Access and the Cortex XOR integration, Cortex XOR listens to the auto-scaling and new provisioning events, and it immediately picks up the new list of Prisma Access Egress IPs and automatically updates the firewall rules in the GCP, Google Cloud, or AWS, wherever you have hosted. And this helps you with the business continuity, with the no loss or interruption for the users who need access to the public cloud, workloads, or the SaaS applications. And another important topic is IP address pools in the mobile users. Make sure that you have specified an IP address pool that allows enough coverage for the mobile users in your organization. It is important to remember that each unique users can use multiple devices to connect to the Prisma Access at the same time, and each connected device requires a unique IP address from the pool. The addresses in the pool should not overlap with the addresses in the other pool you use internally and the IP address used internally and the IP address you have specified while defining your service infrastructure. The requirement is you should configure the minimum of /23 for either the worldwide or the regional pool. But the recommendation is the number of IP addresses in the pool is 2 times the number of mobile users or devices that will connect to the Prisma Access. And if your organization has a bring your own device or BYOD policy, or if a single user has multiple user accounts, make sure that while you are planning or you are configuring the IP pools, you take all those extra devices and accounts into the consideration. If you specify a mix of worldwide or regional pools, Prisma Access uses the IP pools in the region first, and if the regional pools are exhausted, Prisma Access will take IP address blocks from the worldwide pool, which allow you to configure extra IP addresses in the worldwide pool address to function as a fallback. And you can monitor this IP pool utilization if they're reaching to the maximum capacity via Prisma Access Insights. Log into your Prisma Access Insights, go to the mobile user dashboard, and you will see the widget there, IP pool reaching maximum capacity. You will see the bar graph there, which explains you utilization of each of your regional and worldwide. And if you hover your mouse in each of the bar graph, it will explain you how many pools have been used, what are available, and the percentages sign shows you utilization percentage of each regional and worldwide. And you can keep track of all this. If you see that some of your regional pools are reaching the maximum, you can add more IP addresses to accommodate more user and devices. Another topic we have is split tunneling. Split tunneling gives you the ability to split tunnel applications or traffic. You can the tunnel enterprise, SaaS, and public cloud applications for comprehensive SaaS visibility and control to avoid risk. With shadow IT environments in where it's not feasible to tunnel the traffic. You can send the latency sensitive traffic such as voice over IP or VoIP outside the VPN tunnel. You can exclude HTTP or HTTPS video streaming traffic from the VPN tunnel, such as YouTube, Netflix, which consumes a large amount of bandwidth. Global Protect allows to split tunnel applications or traffic on some certain ways. You can split tunnel specific applications. You can split tunnel list of domains with ports. You can split the tunnel with a list of video applications. The decryption can identify the file type using the content and then redirect the client to open a new connection to fetch the stream data. And App ID functionality identifies here the video stream before allowing allowing the traffic to split tunneled. It's easy to configure. You can just log into your Panorama and navigate to the Network tab. Go to the Global Protect and Gateways. In the Gateways agent in the client settings, you will find the split tunnel. You can see here, you can configure here, exclude client application with the process name, specify the domain, specify the complete path of the application process for which you would like to exclude the traffic. And once the configuration, click OK and do the commit and push these configurations to the cloud. Another one is here we have deploy user ID. User's identification or the user ID is Palo Alto Network's next-gen firewall feature that seamlessly integrates with the range of enterprise directory and terminal services to tie application activity policies to username and groups instead of just IP addresses. User ID has a great importance in Prisma Access because there are only two zones, and Prisma Access is such a robust mobile user platform. The user ID has a greater use. In addition to the standard benefits of user ID with logging, reporting, and threat hunting, user ID redistribution can also facilitate the mobile user's hip check redistribution. Prisma Access requires that you configure IP address to user mapping to consistently enforce user-based policy for mobile users and users at remote network locations. And you can configure your deployment to allow Panorama to get a list of all the users groups retrieved from group mapping, which allow easily select these groups from drop-down list and create and configure the policies. The dynamic nature of users' applications means that IP addresses alone have become less effective as a mechanism for monitoring, controlling user activity. User ID identifies the user on the network and the IP address of the computer the user is logged in. The, the ultimate purpose of the user ID is to give you the ability to write policy, rules, display logs, and display reports, which contains the username instead of only IP address and port numbers. User ID is used in Prisma Access to replicate learned user ID information within a Prisma Access to or from on-premises devices. It enables you to share user ID information in whatever way makes sense for you and your security requirements. The direction of the user ID distribution is important in this case. If the user ID redistribution going through security devices, one agent pulls information from another agent, it's not a push. And the data movement is not bidirectional. User ID in Prisma Access, as I mentioned, has a greater significance for controlling of the traffic, as there are only two zones. And so there are different options to user ID distribution: cloud-based redistribution, which is automatic distribution within a Prisma Access, service connection user ID distribution, and full mesh within a cloud, and redistribution from Prisma Access to an on-premises and from an on-premises device firewall to the Prisma Access. This is a user ID mapping or redistribution. You can see here in this example, we have two remote networks which are connected to a Prisma Access and authenticate to the data center using a service connection. A window-based User ID agent is deployed at the data center location, which collects user to mapping from Active Directory or domain controller. The user ID agent then push all the users to IP mapping to the Palo Alto Networks firewall at the data center. Mobile users connect to the Prisma Access using Global Protect agent. User to IP mapping is provided automatically to Prisma Access using Global Protect agent. So in this architecture, some conditions to consider. The master device at the data center has all the users to IP mapping from remote networks in the data center. And the master device at the data center does not have the users to IP mapping from the mobile users. Prisma Access has the user to IP mappings from mobile users. And Prisma Access does not have the users to IP mapping from the device at the data center. So before the Prisma Access can enforce policy with the user's name, all users to IP mappings must be redistributed. User ID redistribution within a Prisma Access. We're considering a scenario here. In this example, we can see mobile users authenticate to the gateways for their Global Protect connections. User at site A and B authenticate to the Capital portal using either LDAP, SAML, or any radio server. Remote network IP address to user mapping obtained by Capital portal redistribution automatically to the nearest corporate access node or service connection. Mobile users and IP addresses to username mapping redistributed to geographically nearest service connection automatically. So in this example, you can see that two corporate access nodes or service connections hold all the data center learned by all Prisma access nodes. Their learning do not or should not overlap and are unique as unique on per service connection. Gateways, portals, and security processing nodes automatically uh, do user ID distribution to the geographical closest service connection. And the quantity of the service connection or corporate access nodes will determine how many user ID distributions areas should be created. And you can see here the number 5, the, the username to IP address mapping is needed to distribute between the corporate access nodes or the service connection nodes. And you need additional configuration for this. So in this example, you can see the corporate access nodes or service connections have been configured to pull the data from each other. Each service connection now has the full set of data learning from user ID in this Prisma Access instance. User ID distribution from Prisma Access. In this scenario, the data center located has a window-based user ID agents that have been configured to pull the user ID. And information from exposed user ID agents or addresses on the corporate access nodes or service connection node are using ID mesh within a Prisma Access. And this practice allows all Prisma Access user ID learning to get to the on-premises user ID configurations or firewalls. User ID distribution to the Prisma Access. In this example, the service connection template is configured to pull user ID distribution from the two window-based user ID agents on the on-premises. Because a single template stack can control all the service connection nodes, they all will pull the information from specified window-based agents. And additionally, this remote networks template is configured to pull user ID information as well. So the region 1 service connection, which allows from all users from Prisma Access Cloud plus all on-premise data center to be redistributed. So in this Prisma Access environment, all service connection are controlled by one template stack. Corporate access node template or service connection template configured to pull user ID learnings from whichever premises, user ID, device holdings. Mobile users, SPNs, security processing nodes not require this information because they will get its ID from information they need from the global protect behind the RN SPU. And the RN SPN pull this user ID information from service connection. If you have any questions, please feel free to post in the Q&A and we will address at the end. Clientless VPN. Clientless VPN provides a secure remote access to the common enterprise web application that uses HTML, HTML5, JavaScript. Users have the advantage of secure access from SSL-enabled web browser without installing the Global Protect client software. Deployment of the clientless VPN is useful when you need to enable a partner or contractor to access certain applications and to safely enable to the unmanaged assets, including the personal devices. Prisma Access clientless VPN is different than the cloud secure gateway. The cloud secure web gateway is scalable and can function with the HTTP and HTTPS applications. Clientless VPN solution is limited to the listed protocol, but is more flexible with the authentication types. You can configure the clientless VPN, just log into your Panorama, go to the network tab, and you will see the clientless VPNs in your left. Click on that. Select the appropriate template for your mobile user configurations. Configure the clientless VPN application group, and then configure the Global Protect portal to provide the clientless VPN service. You can map the users. Users use the crypto settings to specify the security settings for the clientless VPN. Specify any special treatment for the application domain. In some cases, the applications may have pages that do not need to be accessed through the portal. You can configure a security policy, a rule to enable the users to access these all published applications through the clientless VPN. And now I will talk about troubleshooting Prisma Access. I will discuss some common scenarios which you can use and the self-help tools, resources which you should use before opening up a tag case you can investigate. Here are the common scenarios where we talk about licensing activation, commit failures, IPsec VPN connectivity issues, traffic flows, and availability of the cloud resources. How you should investigate, how you should provide more information to the tag, which will help them to resolve the issue faster. Common issues related to the licensing and activation are errors while generating the OTP, failed to verify account, OTP verification failed, Panorama is unable to connect to the Prisma Access, your plugin is not responding, SSL certificate errors. So first of all, make sure that all these ports, APIs, and URLs are on the allowed list on any local on-premises device. It can be a firewall or anything that may be blocking the connection request. Port 444, which Cortex Data Lake and CDL uses, and different URLs which are related to the Prisma Access, Cortex Data Lake. All these should be allowed on your local on-premises device. After you have verified that URLs and the ports are not being blocked and still you're having a problem, you can reset the Prisma Access licenses. Establish SSH connection to your Panorama, and you can follow these instructions. Here I mentioned all these instructions are available in our Panorama Prisma Access admin guide, by the way. You don't need to remember all these commands here. All these commands, how to reset the licenses, how to delete, how to fetch, all these commands are available in Prisma Access admin guide. Delete all the Prisma Access license existing on your Panorama using the CLI command, and then delete the Panorama certificate, and then fetch these licenses and the cloud service plugins again. And then fetch the certificates, request the plugins, and verify OTP. This way, you can reset your Prisma Access licenses, and it will help you to resolve the issue. And if you're still facing an issue, you can always open up attack case. Commit errors. To determine if there are errors with the commit process, you can navigate to the status page and in your Panorama and hover your mouse over to the error, which will reveal the additional details. For example, in this example, you can see here uh, the mobile users. If you hover your mouse here, you will see the error details. It will do the reveal additional information. And if you want to know more details, determine the underlying issue of the reported error, go to the monitor page, and from here, from the service stat, you can select what exactly you want to know. Error details, click there, and underneath you will see that. For example, here you can see that explains that IPsec tunnel is down and tunnel monitoring status is off. System logs. System logs provides a valuable information about the overall health of your Prisma Access deployment. You can log with information severity levels. Also, you can log in to your Panorama, go to the monitor section, and you'll find all the system logs generated. You can create some filters and to narrow down the scope of these logs. Common IPsec issues. Common IPsec configuration issues include IK crypto profile misconfigurations, IK gateway pair ID misconfigurations, and IPsec crypto misconfigurations. Configuration of an IPsec tunnel to the Prisma Access have some caveats. Prisma Access does not support BGP pairing with the 169.254.0.0/16 IP address space. Prisma Access does not support GRE over IPsec. GRE without IPsec. L2TP, OSPF, RIP, ERGRP. So when you troubleshoot IPsec VPN issues, look for specific VPN entries in the system logs, traffic log. These logs that can help you determine whether you are having an issue with the phase 1 or phase 2 negotiations. And to troubleshoot traffic flows issues, always review the traffic logs. Traffic log can help you to make determination of traffic is getting the Prisma access. If you do not see entries in the traffic log, verify routing, verify that you have logging enabled on the default interzone and intrazone rules, security policies denying the session, verify security policy rule logic, security zones, review the traffic logs, verify the security zones are properly mapped to trusted and untrusted Prisma access zones, and GP logs for mobile users, which help you to monitor and troubleshoot issues with the GP Global Protect. You can find information here regarding the global protect logs, which shows and display the information into the authentication method, if their authentication failing or anything. ACC widget or the application command center displays a graphical view of users' activity in your global protect deployment. You can see here successful global protect connection activity, unsuccessful connection activity, and global protect deployment activity. You will see that all the charts view summary of your deployment. You can use the toggle at the top charts to view the distribution of users. And here we have some self-help troubleshooting tips. What are the available tools you can use which can help you for the self-help? Global Protect has in-app self-help for remote users. When some issue comes in, users can submit the logs to your IT teams from their connection. They can just submit. Yeah. So if they're facing any problem, the certificate used to establish the connection expired, they can just retry, change the gateway, and they can also submit. So if they are running into that some problem or issue, they can report an issue directly to your IT team. They just need to um, click on the Global Protect, they will find a report issue. When they click on the report issue, it will generate all the Global Protect logs, and this log will be submitted to your IT team or IT admin. And this will help them to troubleshoot. A compact troubleshooting report is sent to the app by the GP app to the IT admin. And this report they can see in the Explorer app. So, so it also can run the diagnostics and the diagnostics logs. So it's a built-in ability to diagnose a connection, performance, or application access issues. And it can provide also the self-help guidance with the next steps, what the user to resolve the issue. And as I mentioned, all these logs will be your IT admin can access using the Explorer app on the hub, apps.paloaltonetworks.com. They can log into the Explorer and they can all review all the logs there. Another important tool is ADAM. ADAM is a tool that provides native end-to-end visibility and insights for all the users' traffic in your Prisma Access and SASE environment. It's natively integrated into the GP app and Prisma Access, and does not require you to deploy any additional software or install anything. And ADAM provides visibility into any deviation or events that degrade the user experience across each segment between end users, applications, whether it's endpoint, Wi-Fi, LAN router, ISP, Prisma Access, or application itself. It's an add-on license to the Prisma Access. If you're using it, then you can create different application tests. If you want to learn more about the ADAM, we have done a webinar in our summer webinar series, and the recording is available on Live Community and YouTube Live Community channel. If you want to learn about more about ADAM, how to create different tests, so feel free to watch those recordings. Another important tool is Prisma Access Insights, which allows you for visualization, enhanced logging, monitoring, multiple dashboards which focus on ways for different deployments, alerts. For the Prisma infrastructure, you can find here different dashboard for remote networks, mobile users. As I mentioned, you can monitor IP pool utilization here, where your pools are reaching the maximum capacity, the throughput, tunnel throughput, all the alerts. And very important thing here, the Prisma Access Insight notification profile. You can create a notification profile, means subscribe to all the alerts and the events the Prisma Access will send the notifications. So Insights enable you to set up an alert notification so that you can receive alerts directly to the mailbox. Um, and each member or user you are adding here, they should be a member of the CSP, customer support portal, or and Insights admin rights they should have. All the notification and the emails, once you create a notification profile, you will see there, important thing to mention here, the notification subscription and notification subscription log. Notification subscription tab shows you the view of all the available profiles who has been subscribed to the notification, the list of all the notification of subscription. And notification subscription log shows you if any modification has happened to the notification profiles. For example, any priority of the alerts have been changed by someone. You can monitor all the logs here, and you can click on the add notification profile to add different users. Prisma Access Insights send you, if you sign up on notification profile, it sends you the notification, two types of notifications. One is environmental, which are related to the Prisma Access Insights environment, which say as a priority alerts, and another one is which is the ad hoc software release upgrade or anything, which is we are seeing information alert. So you can see here, if you sign up for the notifications, you will be informed each step. Email header of the priority alerts will comprise alerts ID, alert severity, alert code, and these alerts can be grouped under alert ID to be the status of the alert. And priority alerts are updated only when alert severity is increased. And this is the information alert type of notification, which will just give you a notification, ad hoc update of the Prisma access and information, and a maintenance update. You will send all notifications. So I highly encourage each one of you, please set up a notification profile in your Prisma access environment so that you can get all the updates. And another important thing is here, the status page, status.paloaltonetworks.com. You can retrieve the status and of all the Palo Alto Networks cloud services, Prisma Access, and Cortex, data lake, and everything. And you can see the historical views. Any update regarding the availability of services, plugin, all you will be getting through the status page. So please subscribe to this page if you have not done. So you can see here, like for example, for Prisma Access plugin 2.2, this updates is available on our status page. If you have subscribed, you will receive all this notification and updates. And with this, we are end of today's session. Thank you very much for joining us today. If you have any questions, please feel free to post in the Q&A. Thank you.